Do you struggle in setting boundaries? Let's discover how we as women face certain challenges and simply saying no, and how self awareness, yes, self awareness can be an ultimate game changer in us saying no. Because I don't know about you, and I keep saying no, but no sometimes feel like trying to parallel park an 18 wheeler. And that, I'm sure, can be difficult. So come on, let's jump in and discuss this. Hi, my name is Vani. Welcome back to my channel, Healthy Done My Way. Today, we're going to discuss how we as women has this thing about saying no, setting boundaries and setting limits, and how self-awareness, like I stated before, can be a tool that we can use to give us confidence in figuring out and strategizing how to properly say no and set limits. So, one of the common challenges, and this one is definitely so me. Well, it used to be me. People pleasing. Those were the days. Oh my goodness. Pleasing can be a serious obstacle in getting in our way of saying no and setting boundaries. But here's the thing. I know for me, using self-awareness in scripture, what I would do and still do is this. I look at the situation and I recognize what is this urge coming from? Where is it coming from? I want to say yes. And once I find the answer, and then I said, okay, let me just deal with the root cause. For instance, mine was in people pleasing. I didn't want to hurt their feelings. Not worrying about my feelings, which stressed me out, and I became really resentful. The next one was I didn't want them to feel uncomfortable, nor did I want me to feel uncomfortable. And then the other one was, well, they're not going to like me. I wanted them to like me. And my thought on that is, okay, what are you going to do about this? And this got in my way of setting boundaries. And until I addressed those issues, I addressed the urge to say yes. And I looked at it. Okay, are you saying yes or no from a place of love and care? Because I was wearing myself out. I was anxious. I was stressful. I was resentful. I was bitter. Oh my goodness. And I said, no, something has to change. And I knew it was the people pleasing part. So I addressed that. And once I addressed that by looking at it and I said, okay, you said no. Let's look at how you're going to say no and when to say no. And to do that, I had to look at my values, my morals, my priorities, my personal limits. And once I did that, when someone asked me to do something, did it line up with my values, my morals, my priorities? And I'm not talking about being self-centered or um, I don't know, only thinking about yourself. That's not what I'm talking about because I am a nurturing person. I knew my urge to say yes automatically before I can even think about it. I went, wait, where did that come from? Was the fact that I was and still is a nurturing, kind person, but I had to put that nourishing and kindness in check in terms of when to use that. And I use it, and I shouldn't say when to use it, but when it is okay to say yes or no, because I'm going to be kind and nurturing regardless. So saying that, when I would say no, it was kind, it was nourishing. I would say something to, could you do this for me? And I know I had committed myself to other things and other people, and I would say at this time I'm not at liberty to do that, but maybe another time. And I may give them a time or may not. Or I would say if someone asked me to do something, and I would say, well, let me get back with you on that because I need time to think. And that was the strategy I put in place. I Now I don't automatically say yes, even if I do have a clear calendar, which that normally doesn't happen. But if I did have some space, I still wanted to think about it. Did it line up with my values? Did it line up with my morals? Did it line up with my priorities? And I also asked this question. This person is asking me to do this. And I ask, what this person is asking me, can that person do for themselves? Or they simply just won't do for themselves? And if the answer is yes, they can do it themselves, they just want me to do it. Or if the answer is no, they can't do it for themselves, then I'll think about it. But even at the same time, how can I fit that in? Or should I fit it in? Okay. So I know I'm just rambling a little bit, but there's a lot. I had to do a lot of work on that, and I'm still doing work on that in terms of people pleasing. And so, again, look at your values, look at your morals, look at your priorities, and in your reply to the individual, be kind and nourishing and let them know I really would like to help you and be genuine. But right now, I'm unable to. And the next challenge that we as women sometimes face in saying no and setting boundaries is the guilt part, is the obligation part. Now that falls to me, that falls under people pleasing because when I would feel guilty, I had to address that. Why do you feel guilty? This person can do it for themselves, and if they're not, you can't do you can't be everything to everybody. And I had to remind myself that. And if I was feeling guilty, I would say, okay, Ronnie, why are you feeling guilty? Is there a particular reason? Or did you say no and you knew you could do it? Then I can understand that. But if I say no and I know I couldn't do it because I would be stretching myself too, just too far, then no. And we have to look at that, and is that guilt warranted? I mean, is it necessary? And sometimes our emotions, because we want to help people and we want to see people thrive, we just more or less put too much on our plates. But it's okay to look at that guilt and say, okay, where is this coming from? And soon it is arise, it show its face, then address it and say, why do I feel guilty? Give an example. My brother, and I know I can use it because he lets me use some of our experiences. He asked me to do something for him on a Saturday, and Saturdays are just like really busy for me, like for most people. And I said, okay, I can do it at this time. I didn't give an open blanket as to just let me know when you want me to pick you up or whatever the case like that. I never do that because then I'll just be all over the place. And I said, this is the time frame I can do it. And he said, well, he said, well, I'll still be sleeping. And I, in my, in my head, I said, well, then you do not want to ride. But I didn't. I said, well, think about it. But my reply was, okay, think about it and let me know you still need me to help you during that time, and then I'll be there. And then a little bit later, he called me back and he said, "Okay, yeah, I'll be able to get it." But you see my point. If you're going to do something for someone, make sure there are perimeters, even boundaries within doing something for someone. And then that way, you're not going to feel resentful. You're not going to feel bitter, because I always say to myself, if you're going to do something for someone, make sure that that person feels comfortable around you. Make sure that you are exuding joy and not resentment or bitterness. And how can you do that if you're feeling those type of emotions? So, yeah, that's just one way. And that's where self-awareness come in. Like I said, address that, attack that guilt, see if it's really warranted or not. And by doing so, You creating these strategies whereby you can feel confident in saying no. And I'm not saying just say no to everything, but say no or yes to what lines up with who you are and what you can do. Okay? So moving right along, because I have actually six. And but I don't want to take up too much of your time. The next one is the challenge that get in our way is fear of conflicts and rejection. Again, I don't know, and I'm saying these, but all of these seem to connect with each other in terms of people pleasing and the guilt and obligation and that type of thing, responsibility. But the fear of conflict and rejection. This one was another one for me, and I'm gonna use a professional setting this time. I when I'm in the office and people would ask Bonnie, can you do this? Help me with this. Can you help me with that? Now keep in mind, it's outside of my my job duties, but being nurturing and being kind and being helpful, which I love those qualities about myself, and not it's not bragging. I'm just using that so you can know the whole me. Well, most of me in terms of the content. And I trained them unknowingly, unintentionally, that, oh, come to me. It wasn't written in stone, but come to me. I'll help you with this. Or I just want to be kind. Goes back to people pleasing. I didn't want, I wanted to be liked. I wanted to feel comfortable. And I wanted to, not have any friction or tension or anything like that. And I know so most of us want that. But I realize that with the fear of conflict and rejection, and just regardless in setting boundaries, it's going to be there. And I had to get comfortable with being uncomfortable in whatever situation that occurs by me setting these boundaries. And the individual, and sure enough, I prepared for it. I strategized, okay, if this person feels this way, let's say this person feels hurt, or this person feels rejected. Because sometimes when they reject you, it's because the no that you gave them, they felt rejection. And so they just mirroring that. Not saying that it's right. I'm just stating sometimes that's what it is. And I had to come into the realization of that and respond in a way, not react, but respond in a way that was caring, that was calming. And when the individual asks, hey, Bonnie, could you help me with this? She did a lot of events. And I didn't mind helping her when I had the time. But I found out I was helping her during the time where I was really busy and I would just jump up and go. But I trained this individual that you can come to me and I'll just jump up and go. So I had to retrain the individual with my action. And so when she would say, hey, Bonnie, could you help me do this? And I said, I would like to help you, but right now I can't. And did she feel some kind of way? Yes, she did. But I expected that. Did she feel a little bit rejected? Yes, I expected that. And as far as the conflict, not so much conflict, but just the uncomfortableness of it all. But I expected that. So it wasn't as, I don't know, it wasn't as uncomfortable as it would have been if I wasn't prepared for it. Does that make sense? And let me give you an example. Well, just just let me just say this. When my mother was sick, and I have very cold hands, okay? And I would touch her no matter how much I warmed them up, no matter how much I rubbed them together, no matter how much warm water I run on it, it's just always cold. And I would touch, and she would just jump like someone scared the living bejeebies out of her. So the nurse told me what they do is they prepare the individual for whatever. Okay, Miss So and so, we are going to give you a shot, and the shot is going to probably hurt just a little bit. and you're going to feel some burning. And I went, oh. So I'm saying that to say this. I prepared myself to what for what to come. And so when it happened, I was okay. I'm prepared for this. I know how to behave. I wasn't comfortable. Again, I was comfortable in the uncomfortable situation. Did the person give me a cold shoulder? I kind of expected that. And I was okay with that because now I can get some work done. So, but you get the point. And so, yeah, so the rejection and the conflict plot, you just work out a plan as to how you're going to handle this. And by doing this, you are, each time you do work out a plan and it comes together, yeah, there are going to be some negative going on there, but expect that. And there are going to be some positive going there. Expect that. But either way it goes, do not I would suggest not to let it affect you to the point whereby you're stressed, you're resentful because you're saying yes, because you want to avoid feeling that way. Because in life, in situations, family, personal, different relationships, there are going to be uncomfortable situations, and if we're prepared for it mentally, it's so helpful for our overall well-being. Okay? Okay, let's move really fast because, again, I do not want to take up all of your time. The next one is lack of clear personal limits. This one, it's just more or less clarifying what you will and will not allow. My personal limits in terms of, because if you're setting, if you know your values and morals and your priorities and these personal things that you will not tolerate. For instance, let me give you an example. Mine was and still is, I do not like cursing. I don't like curse words. And so I had to set limits around that. And my thing was, I think I was really polite. When someone would curse, I would say something to the effect, "Oh, wash your mouth out with soap." And then they would automatically say, "Oh, Vonnie, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean that." And two, now, if the individual, whoever the individual would want to curse, they say, "Vonnie, put your hands over your," they would say, "Put your hands over your ears because I have to say this." And they'll say whatever they have to say. And I respect that and I appreciate that. And there are some who are not going to accommodate that and they're just going to push the limit. And then that's when I have to remove myself. I mean, that's just something I don't tolerate and I don't like being around. And it's not judging or anything, that's just my own personal limits, my own personal, boundaries that I don't don't let anyone cross. Or if they do cross, don't let them get away with it in terms of it's okay. And we're going to get to that in terms of people just overstepping their boundaries. Okay, and the next one is difficulty communicating boundaries. This one is a good one because sometimes boundaries, I'm an action person, and I can show you better than I can tell you. But then there are sometimes we should verbalize it. And by that is letting the individual know that these are the things, these are my boundaries, these are my limits. You don't say like these are the things I just don't tolerate. And I explain it this way, in order for me to be stress free, in order for me to have this freedom of just being able to say no or yes when it is appropriate, then setting boundaries create this freedom, creates this confidence. So, and I explain that to my individuals that are close to me, and other individuals too. But I want to be free. I want to be able to say no, and it's okay for me. It may not be okay for you, but it's okay for me. And in order to get to that point, I had to create strategies. And this one, difficulty communicating boundaries, yeah, different communicating boundaries, I'm sorry, is that I had to talk to an individual. Let me give you an example. Mine was this. I Stop. I don't receive calls before 9 o'clock in the morning. Actually, before 9:15 in the morning. I don't call out. I don't call anyone before 9:15 in the morning. And I stop receiving calls 7:30 in the evening. So I inform my family and friends, this is the time frame. If you're gonna call me, this is the time frame you call me. Call me, leave a message. If you don't leave a message, then it wasn't important. You don't want me to call you back. Because some would say, well, I'll call you and you didn't call me back. Did you leave a message? Those are my boundaries. You know, tell me what you want. If you want something, if you want to, and I know when they don't leave a message, it's because they want something, but leave it on the message, on the voicemail. You see my point, and I had to communicate that to the individuals and letting them know house rules. There are certain house rules that I have. This is a good one. My boundaries. I said, if you come in here, and if you you have to wash your hands. I'm sorry. If you visit me and if you close to me and you have access to like the kitchen and things like that, you have to wash your hands. If you're just coming to visit and you're sitting there, then okay, fine. But you have to wash your hands. And before you go into my refrigerator or something like that. I know like that's been petty, but you get the idea as to communicating what the house rules are in terms of communicating your boundaries. So, moving on to the next one. And this would help and being self-aware with that is recognizing how to communicate that. And I had to okay, Vonnie, sit down and just and think about what it is I'm aware of that I want for myself and then go from there and then create a strategy and guidelines for that. And I actually create strategy and guidelines. So anyways, the next one is inconsistency. And this is another challenge for us as women. Sometimes we are inconsistent in maintaining boundaries. If you're going to set boundaries, please, 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 please ensure that you keep them. Don't I would suggest not to be um, wishy-washy, if you will, with your boundaries. Sometimes your boundaries are in place, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes you feel like a nut, and sometimes you don't. Okay, that's silly. But anyway, but you get my picture. I Let me give an example with the and I'm not saying be strict with it, but be let it be sound and on a sound foundation. Your boundaries. These are my boundaries. Do not cross it. If someone crossing it, because people will test you, then that's where you, me, we as women has to say no. I I I just can't do that. Or no, I would appreciate it if you wouldn't do it that way or say this around me or whatever the case may be. Set your boundaries and stick to it. Now, I know there's sometimes there will be where you have to be a little flexible. Give an example. I'm going to use the time setting that I have in the morning, accepting calls, in the evening, not receiving calls. Something happened just past 2 weeks, and the situation lasted for about a week and a half. And so I was flexible in helping individuals out because of the situation, the time, this 9 o'clock time, 9:15 time. I extended that. I opened it up to okay, maybe the person can call me at 8 o'clock, 8:15, 8:30, something like that, and I'll be around my phone to help out. And in the evening time, I extended the time from 7:30 to about 8:15. And I did that simply because of the situation that was going on. So there will be times where you may have to be a little bit flexible, but not to the point that you're just leaving it wide open. It, I look at my boundaries as we're actually set in stone to a degree, but flexible. So that doesn't make sense, set in stone and flexible. But actually, just be a little flexible when the need arises, because sometimes it's situational. So you see, if we we have strategies to address how to say no, when to say no, and prepare yourself for the pushback. Prepare yourself for the rejection. Prepare yourself for, you know, the guilt and the obligation. And when I say prepare yourself, have strategy. Work the guilt out. Where is this coming from? Is it warranted? Is it necessary? Is it my responsibility to be for this individual? And if it is, then how much of help can I give this to this individual and work that out. And before you say yes to anything, even if you want to do it, even if it lines up with your values and your morals and your priorities, just simply say, let me get back with you on that. And if the person say, oh, I need to know right away, then what I would do and say, well, if you need an answer right now, then unfortunately, the answer is no. I'm not. I don't like to say no. See, there it goes. I like to say, unfortunately, the answer. I'm not at liberty to assist you, something like that, or help you. But be prepared for the positive and the negative, and be prepared to be uncomfortable. And I honestly believe once you are aware, you know what to expect. Expect you have something and you have a plan together as to how to handle that, and also to help you kind of work through it. Then the majority of the saying no is taken care of. You have the confidence, and two, it gives you that confidence, but at the same time, your overall well-being is so much better. You feel free. Saying no, setting boundaries, create this freedom. Like now, I'm to the point. If you don't like me, okay, fine. I didn't hurt you by saying no. I didn't. It wasn't like a hardcore no. It wasn't like I rejected you. It's just that from my heart, from what's going in my life, what I'm able to do, I just can't do it. So you see, and that I had to talk to me in terms of how to handle this and how to handle my emotions that goes with it and how to handle people rejecting me, because some did and some came around, some didn't, but most time they come around. And I know I'm rambling on, but I just want you all to know that setting boundaries and being fair and just with yourself, again, not selfishness, not self-centeredness, but just being fair to yourself and serving yourself so you are able to serve others and to help others with a smile, with a sense of freedom. So, okay, I am going to stop talking right now. So, thank you so very much for listening. And if you have any questions or comments, you know where to go to put it in the comments below. And I will talk with you soon. Bye.